Welcome to the Compost Pile, a podcast where we break down gardening, homesteading, and more. Join your hosts, David Poole and Aaron Barnhill, as they pile up information and break it down so that you can be more successful in the garden.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Compost Pile, your podcast for all things gardening and homesteading. With me as always is my co-host David Poole, owner of Mid-County Farm and Feed. We have a very special guest today. I'm going to turn it over to David to let me know what we're doing today.
Well, we think we're going to talk a little bit about squash and melons.
Okay, yeah.
Getting to the point, some people may already have squash in the ground. Melons are kind of coming up. If some people we're starting to see like transplants coming into the nursery and such, but I think that squash and melons can often be, they can go one of two ways. They can be kind of easy for some people, and for the mass majority, I feel they're a pretty difficult crop. And I kind of wanted to just talk, and that's why I invited Paul today. He's probably got a lot more practical experience because, really, truthfully, I don't grow squash because, number one, I don't like it, and number two, it's very problematic, and I don't have a lot of space. So I choose not to waste my time on it.
I feel like you don't like a lot of fruit and vegetables.
I don't.
Okay, yeah. So that's no excuse.
Very ironic considering we was talking about growing food here, but
yeah.
I don't have a palate for liking a lot of things.
Yeah. So Paul, what's your background and what makes you sort of a voice to talk about squash and melons?
Well, I've been growing squash since I was in probably middle school.
Okay.
And so I've had a lot of good and bad experiences with squash, and I love to eat squash, which is a good thing. And we put a lot of squash up every year. And the squash can be temperamental. You got to know the tricks of the trade, especially in this area, for growing squash, to keep it going and to have a lasting production. And there's some pitfalls along the way that you need to know about. And if you don't, then you'll be, people will call you or they'll call down here and say, hey, my squash is doing this. As a matter of fact, squash got me into beekeeping.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I can delve into that a little bit also.
Yeah.
And because I was complaining about squash, and my dad, he was a lifelong gardener. He taught me a lot of things, and I was ranting and raving about my squash one day, and it would only get so long, and it'd get brown in the end, it would fall off. I give them, I'm doing everything right. The leaves are great. I mean, as big as elephant ears. Everything's going good. And squash is falling off. He says, there's a pollination problem. I said, really? He said, yeah. So once you get you some bees, like your grandpa had, and you want to worry about hand pollinating them. And so we started hand pollinating them, with Q-tip.
Was it Q-tip? Yeah.
Yeah, going from the male to the female flower. And I was getting bucket loads of it.
Yeah.
Then, but that really got me thinking about, that's nature's job, and so that's how I ended up getting into beekeeping. I said, I'm gonna get some more bees and help
try to increase your chances of pollination.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
because I think squash and melons are are pretty famous. We talked about this before. They'll typically put on some male flowers towards the beginning, and then your female flowers and your fruiting flowers will come on, and you only need one male flower to pollinate.
Mm-hmm. You're like 10 square foot. Yeah,
but
it doesn't matter.
But sometimes sometimes the male flowers will drop off, and there's less male flowers and lots of female flowers, and if you don't have efficient pollinators, they're not making that happen, and it leads people to need to hand pollinate. That's one of the biggest pitfalls of squash for the average gardener, is because they don't know that. They think they're doing, and maybe it's not fertile, maybe they're not watering, or a lot of people automatically jump to blossom end rot like tomatoes when they see the tips blackening, but it's a pollination issue.
Yep.
And it's really, really common on almost any type of squash or melon.
And cucumbers to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I had some issues with.
I mean, cucumbers are melons.
Yeah.
So people forget that. They think there's something different, but they are. And if you let a cucumber go, you'll see it turn into a melon. It will turn into this round, orange, spiky melon, but we eat them immature. That's what we do. But so you have to treat a cucumber like a melon, and a lot of the same in regards.
Yeah.
Well, and some beekeeping friends of mine, they actually haul bees to West Texas to the watermelon fields to sufficiently pollinate their crops out there.
People grow a lot of watermelon in West Texas.
They do.
That seems
I know it.
wild, doesn't it? It's so dry. Yeah.
Tumbleweeds and all that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, watermelon does tend to like a sandy type soil.
They do.
Sandy soils are typically drier.
Yeah.
Because they're,
Because they drain.
your particle size of sand is bigger than clay, so you're going to drain. Which is also ironic, thinking about like a sandy soil holds nutrition less.
Yeah.
Like melons, you'd think would need lots of nutrition. So it's always been an interesting thing to me, trying to understand what melons like about sandy soil.
Yeah. Well, they like a sandy loam,
Yeah.
which has more nutrition. So that's why they do so well in East Texas. Because it's a sandy loam up there.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And they do really well out there. There's a lot of people that have big fields full of melons.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think like squash is, you look like at the cucurbit family as a whole, there's lots of different plants. There's like the gourds and the pumpkin type, large leaf plants, but squash, like cucumbers, is not necessarily a climbing plant. And I think a lot of people get confused and they're not prepared. It's more of a ground cover.
Yeah.
And
Depending on the squash.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not to say that you couldn't grow it up something, but it's not going to just climb its way on up a trellis like very easily on its own.
And you can manipulate it and everything too. But it is a ground cover, and squash is pretty famously used in the Three Sisters to provide a ground cover, right? So
that ground cover, it's essentially a living mulch, so it'll help you with moisture retention. So it really works well, on the bottom side of like larger tall growing plants, just like in the Three Sisters method.
Yeah, which is corn, beans, and squash, right? You have the corn, which acts as a trellis. The beans climb that, and then the squash covers the ground to retain moisture, and also they get a benefit from being partly shaded as well.
Yeah. One of the problems that I've never experienced this a whole lot with like any kind of melon or squash when I have grown them, but a big common problem is like powdery mildew, and that can come on really easily being a ground cover if you plant them too close together. If they're too dense, then you don't get airflow, and with no airflow, that's where you get that mold or mildew type environment, and then that potential issue comes on. And you see a lot of people have that. And, so it's something
common.
Yeah, you gotta make sure you got good spacing, good airflow. I've never pruned them, but I'm sure you could prune back some leaves on them. Maybe
You can. The biggest problem you're gonna have with your squash, zucchini also, same thing, is there's a red wasp looking thing that's going to lay eggs at the base of those squash plants, and they hatch out, and the worm will bore into the shaft of it. And it looks like sawdust at the base of the plant when it happens.
Yeah, it's got that little like frass.
Yeah, little frass and stuff, right. And the plant's going to die, and you're just going to stop producing. And there's ways to try to mitigate that. It's actually a challenge, and it's pretty fun to do. You got to figure out where that worm is inside the stalk, and you can actually do surgery on it. Like
you just cut it out.
You can split the shaft open up and find it.
Wow.
And out of there, or you can get like a long needle or pin and just start poking through it. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Until you get it.
How do you see it? You just kind of see it in the light, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can tell about how far up they're in there, and if you're kind of inspecting your plants daily when it gets especially into probably mid-April-ish.
When it started to get a little warm.
Yeah, or if you start seeing them out there, knowing that they're around, then you start looking, and you actually see the little eggs laid on there.
Yeah, it looks like almost like a little line.
Yeah, yeah. And see when it's happening, you can take them off of there, and then another way is actually use a row cover.
Row covers are one of the only like true and tried proven methods to it, because it's a true prevention method. If you can prevent the moth from accessing the host plant,
that's right,
then you're breaking the life cycle. You're eliminating the problem. But row covers are not. A lot of people are not willing to take the time to create a system to have a room cover.
So what does that look like? Does that look like cheesecloth just kind of over your...
Similar.
Yeah.
You got some wire hoops that basically go over the row, and they're kind of woven through the it's like a freeze cloth or something.
Okay, yeah.
Very light. Lets the sun shine through the air.
So it looks like a little mini greenhouse, right? Like, yeah, okay.
And then you got a little zipper on each end of it if you buy buy one. What the downfall is, your pollinators can't get in there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
It makes sense.
or get your Q-tip out.
But
Yeah.
but then I think like a lot of times people are mostly hand pollinating.
Yeah.
A lot anyway. So
And it's an easy plant to hand pollinate too, because
Simple.
the squash blossoms is probably one of the best things to learn about pollination and hand pollinated stuff. Yeah, because it's
so big.
it's got a lot of accents. It's like when I'm trying to work on my old Ford, I can just sit up in the hood and get my hands all around it. It's the same thing. It's also an edible blossom. You can stuff them. It's one of the things with the culinary you sure can.
And I tell people also is that those blossoms will close off at about 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And so get out there before 10 o'clock in the morning. The blossom's going to be open. You can get your pollen
Beep, beep.
on your male flower.
Yep.
And the female flower is on the end of the fruit. And if you look inside it looks like a fist in there.
Yeah.
Kind of ribbed. And so, you got a pollen, you got a flower with a stipule on it with pollen around it, and you just touch it.
Yeah.
Touching it. And so get your bushel basket ready because it'll pick some.
And you can use a Q-tip. You can use an old dry paintbrush.
Yeah.
You can use old toothbrush. There's all kinds of things I've seen.
I've actually popped the flower off and tapped them.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll work.
That'll work too, yeah.
It will.
And every one of those blossoms that you're pollinating will turn into a fruit. Yep.
Sure enough.
So it's pretty cool. It's a good beginner. I mean, we're talking about a lot of the problems they have. We're talking about pests, and all that. And it'd be easy to listen to this and kind of overthink it. I gotta get a hoops and cover and all that.
No,
but it's low entry, low barrier. It's real fun.
You can do nothing.
Yeah, you can.
You really can.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see the frass down there, you kind of do an inspection, see if you can't find it and kill it. And I guess the stem of the shaft's gonna look pretty ugly.
Yeah.
You get some good mulch around it, and it'll keep on growing.
Yeah.
If you kill the worm. As far as chemical wise, I don't know if there's anything out there to do anything.
some people say you can inject spinosad or but I mean like I feel that's a really extreme thing.
Yeah.
What about like neem oil or something?
Neem's for smothering small like soft-bodied insects. It doesn't affect like a worm.
Well, the insect itself is not damaging your plant, but it's laying those eggs that
bore in as the larva stage.
So actually, if you just inspect it, and once you see them,
you just knock those.
spray them, scraping them off, and do a little preventive measure. Then you'll make all of the squash you're gonna make.
You know about any companion planting that might drive them away? Like marigolds are popular and peppermint or anything.
And I've done that.
Yeah,
I have not.
I'm trying to juice your experience here. Yeah,
I hadn't found anything.
The only other thing that I know that like is extremely helpful. Like if you're gonna do nothing, and this doesn't work for everybody because some people just have a really small space, but if you have like a larger space that you're growing, like Paul might, succession planting can help eliminate because because one gets it doesn't mean that like another flying insect is going to come in and find the new plant. So some people do have success with succession planting, like a couple weeks apart.
Yeah.
So what does that mean exactly?
So you're going to plant part of your crop, like say today, then you're going to follow a week or two later and plant a few more. And
so you have like a staggered age of plants. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So say week one, plants are they get hit by the vine borer.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next succession, maybe there aren't any in the area and they don't find that plant and you have a healthy plant. I've also there are some varieties out there that are not commonly found, like you can't come to my store and find them. But I learned this from Dr. Bob Randall in his book, which is like an encyclopedia for gardening in the greater Houston area. But I want to say he always recommended a squash variety called Seminole, I believe. I'll correct it in the
sounds like a Florida variety.
But it was more of a large, round squash.
I read that in that book. I know what you're talking about.
But he said that choosing varieties that grew a thicker stalk, like a very like beefy stalk,
woody almost. Yeah.
He found that they were not affected by it. It's like as if the stalk was just too thick
Well, then the penetrate.
for them to penetrate. And he found those varieties that still had good flavor, excellent production, but were maybe unconventional varieties to the average person, did well. They also talked about planting some in a succession and say like the middle, and then letting them be a kind of the sacrificial plant.
Yep.
Then he talked about coming back with the succession planting and planting them on the outer side so that you're, kind of doing the same thing with succession planting, but planting them in the same area in hopes that maybe some plants get hit and others don't.
I always thought that was, and the other option was plant twice as much as you think you need.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Overplant it, you're gonna get a really good harvest. Even if the vine borer gets there, you're still gonna make a pretty nice harvest before that happens. You're just not gonna be able to sustain that plant. But if you overplant, like it's not, you're gonna have some plants that get through there and will keep producing.
I like that method too, because even if, let's say, no pests hit it, right, and everything goes great, you can even then just cull it back, right?
Yeah.
If you have 20 plants and you only need 10, you're not going to need that much harvest. Just cull back the 10 weakest plants. So that's a great method.
I had some years where I only had 1 or 2 of them that I dealt with, and I filled up a chest freezer full of squashes because I planted so much.
They're prolific. Yeah, they really are.
But still, we still eat on it.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a
couple years later. So.
The standard straight neck variety is called prolific yellow straight.
Yes.
Prolific. They're prolific. I'm telling you.
When it's making, you better get out there every day.
I know you do. Yeah.
You got to fix it.
I think for maybe people out there that have been deterred away from squash, like a key takeaway for me is just like you gotta, if you're gonna plant squash, you've got to be out there and observe, because yes, pests are inevitable. It's gonna happen to the best of us, but if you're not willing to go out there and pay attention and observe and watch, then maybe it's not for you. Because you can prevent it, you can fix the problem like you're saying, but it's only if you're paying attention and being like kind of not fully immersed in it, but you got to go out there every day and just observe.
Yeah. So that makes sense. I'm going to switch gears real quick too, because it reminds me of something. And I think we'll go at like kind of in order by difficulty with these plants, because I think squash isn't very hard. It's a great learning plant for hand pollination and stuff like that. And then I think cucumbers are just a little bit above. I think their requirements are a little more. They're not ground covering. They are trellising, right? They vine.
A little more preparation goes involved in it.
Yeah, a little bit more preparation. And then when we're talking about you need to go out there and kind of look at your squash every day, that goes double for cucumber. Yeah. Because the amount of time it takes from a cucumber to go from this little bitty thing to something that's like ready to pick and eat is sometimes just a day.
Yes.
And depending on your setup, depending on your trellis, the cucumber can fall through the trellis and grow and cut itself in half. It can do so many wild things. It can,
and they're camouflage.
And they are camouflage. Yeah.
I don't know how many times I go through. I think I got everything. Go back and next day you got one this long.
Yeah.
Where
did that come from? It's all yellow and seedy. You're like,
and last year, I had a theory last year, and I tested it, and I think it might be right. Somebody who knows a lot more, one of you guys can correct me. But the year before, I grew cucumbers, and the vines they would die on me real quick. And it's because I started thinking about it. I was like, I think that whenever a cucumber is allowed to become mature, it sends a signal to the vine, my job is done.
Yep.
I have seeds in the world, right? So I was like, okay, I can't let any cucumbers go yellow or orange this time because, like we said, they are camouflage and it's hard to find them. But last year, I looked every day, and I would actually pick, I would pick even smaller ones just to make sure nothing matured. And man, I'm telling you, my vines lasted from like May. They lasted to the first cold spell.
Oh, yeah.
I had cucumbers the entire 2 seasons because I never let any of them mature, and I feel like they never send that signal to the vine. So it was just one season.
You're right. That's exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So I didn't know. It just
makes sense. I mean,
it was just something I just had a theory,
guys. We're done.
Because I was like, man, I keep planting cucumbers because it doesn't take a long time for the vines to start producing, right? You plant it, it gets some vegetative growth, it pops some blossoms off. If you got pollinators, great, and then it'll start producing. And I was like, I feel like these things should last longer, but I would inevitably forget something and then have some big yellow just hog leg sitting on there, and I missed it. I'm like, God, and then a week later, everything just starts dying back, and it starts, and that plant starts putting all its resources towards that one fruit, and it just starts trying to get it to make seeds. I'm like, I gotta...
Yeah, it prepared for reproduction.
Exactly, yeah.
Exactly what it's doing.
And that's what it is. All of these plants, they all have different stages. They all have different biology, and knowing that's the key. So I'm glad I figured that out. I'm glad you told me that's the right ticket. Hey, look at me. I figured it out.
But yeah, like you were saying, cucumbers are easy to grow.
Oh yeah.
But it takes a little preparation as far as having some type of trellising system, or I don't do anything fancy on those. I got a piece of a cattle panel that I use every year, or a couple of different pieces. I throw it up there. Only tip I'll give on that is I don't put mine all the way to the ground.
Yeah.
Some people will show it in the ground. I leave it up about that high off the ground. And about the time the plants get tall enough, they'll start crawling up the thing, and it's easy to pick off of. It's a 6x6 wire. Yeah, it's not the little small stuff.
For about 6 to 8 inches, they'll grow straight up, and they'll start doing this wobbling thing. Yep. They're like kind of
grab whatever,
looking around, and they'll grab it. Yeah, I use like a hog wire. This big long piece, and I took it up and made an arch with it. And it connects 2 raised beds.
It's actually fairly common. Yeah, people like to do that because there's a lot of cucumbers will be hanging down underneath you. Walk up underneath and you.
That's exactly what happens.
Good space saver too.
Oh yeah,
absolutely good space.
Tying 2 raised beds.
It's on 2 raised beds, and then one thing that's actually really handy is in that middle where it arches. Now I have a really good shaded place, so I can put certain things that like container plants that really like shade.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it's preparation. It goes a long way.
So what about growing melons?
Melons, okay.
What about cantaloupes? Cantaloupes,
I'm gonna group those together.
I feel like cantaloupes are a little different than watermelon.
They are. They are, because now some of your sugar babies and
smaller ones,
they're a little easier to handle, but you still get a vine that would fill this room up there.
Absolutely.
And so the first year I planted it was probably, I'm gonna say 2017 or 2018 is when I first planted melons on my property in Port Neches, but it's sandy loam, so it's from where the river had overflowed eons and eons ago, so I got really good fertile sandy loam soil. And it was a truck farm back in the early 1900s, I found out.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's great soil out there, perfect for melons. And so I read up on it, studied on it, talked to some people, and planted the seeds, and they just took off. And I'm talking, they take off. It takes a lot of room up, but you get a lot of shaded areas too because of the leaves. And I learned how to the test for their to see how right there was and all that, and so I could go out there.
What do you like? Thump it or something?
Stand out there, and I had to go start thumping and listen to different sounds. I could tell you that was ready to go. And of course, you look at the curl tail and all that, see if it's dried up, and check the color on the belly and all that kind of stuff. All that plays effect. But as far as growing them, the most important thing about it, of course, like anything else, they like good nutrition. But a watermelon's got a deep taproot.
Yeah, okay.
And so you water it on a regular basis like you would anything else until the watermelon gets to be about that big, and then you basically shut the water off. And because what happens is if it gets too much water at that particular point, it's going to have a little washed out flavor.
Makes sense to me. It does.
Yeah.
It's primarily water.
And so, when they get up that size, I basically just shut off the water to it. Now, you're going to have some rains and stuff, but I use a drip system, a drip tape.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did that. Man, I had such a nice crop. I had Charleston Grays, some Jubilees, and something else. I had a third one. And they all were super sweet. I never missed on picking a ripe or not ripe one, and it was great. That was the best year I ever had. And matter of fact, I had to pull the remainder of that full crop. We had like a 5-inch rain and everything. I mean, I had water everywhere.
Yeah.
And I knew they were close, and I went out there in the mud barefooted and cut every one of them. And my kitchen floor was covered. And cantaloupes too.
Yeah.
So cantaloupes don't take quite as much space. And if you have,
is it a smaller vine?
Yes, it's a smaller vine. It's still viney, but whereas you might get a 20-foot vine with a watermelon. And saying that, you can actually pick your vines up and kind of train them into a more confined area. Like if it was an area the size of this 10 by 10 room here, you could actually grow some melons right in the middle here.
Yeah.
And to keep the vines from growing all over everything, you can actually turn them, pick them up as they get longer and kind of move them in. But until they actually get a melon on it, you're not going to pick it up. So you can actually kind of combine them in a smaller-ish area, I guess. And on cantaloupe, it's not as expansive, I guess. And you can trellis cantaloupe. That's a popular way.
Oh,
you can grow in a raised bed. And when a cantaloupe gets to be the size of, I don't know, I guess a tennis ball or something like that, you start using, a lot of people used to use the women's leggings, the leotard or whatever.
Oh, it's kind of support them.
Tied up in your wire.
Yeah.
As it gets bigger, it stretches, and so you got them right there, and they're off the ground actually, which is better. And so you're not gonna get some of your ground-born type of.
Yeah, because none of the big leaf like cucurbits, melons, pumpkins, none of that kind of stuff likes wet leaves.
Yes.
They do not.
Yeah.
I think we always talk about pine straw, but all these things are like pine straw is game changers for helping with like moisture content
off the
keeping those leaves off the soil.
It's got air. You get a lot of air.
Airflow.
Strong.
Yeah.
And that's like the best stuff. And when you're growing these melons or cantaloupes, as before the vines start binding out across there, you can cover your ground with hay.
Yeah, get it ready.
Straw, whatever. Get ready, let it crawl across top of it. And then when you have your melons formed, then it's going to have a little cradle that's going to be sitting on. And it helps out a bunch.
Yeah, I've only really had success growing one melon one time, and it was a black diamond. It was a black diamond. It was called.
Yeah. Good melon.
And I noticed right off the bat, it did not like being wet. My backyard's it's got low spots and all that stuff. So I didn't think about the pine straw. It probably would work really well. But what I did was I got some milk jugs, I cut them in half, kind of gave like a little scoop neck on each side, and I would take the vine where the fruits come up, and I would just rest it in the milk jug, just keeping it off the ground, and that really helped because I got like 3 melons out of it. It wasn't like the greatest haul, but if I would have done that, I would have got 0.
Yeah,
because I could just tell they just did not like.
Yeah, they're pretty prolific.
Yeah,
and again, it's depending on some pollination too. Of course, I had bees at that particular point, and so it helped a bunch. But I had over 100 melons that year. I was giving them away. I brought some to the old Gather restaurant where they actually cooked it there.
Oh yeah,
I was giving them things away.
For something that's so prolific, if all things are right. For me, this is just a personal thing. Like one of the most annoying things about like if you buy watermelon plants at a nursery, can only ever find those things in a pack of 6.
Yeah.
Oh, I only need 1.
Yeah.
Like I don't have room for 6.
For sure.
And
you want your tomatoes at 6, but you really only need 1.
They're easy to start by seed, but like a lot of people always want them in plants, and like they're always like, can I just get like 1 or 2? Like,
just planted the 6 corners of your property.
And watermelons, they're not. That's not their favorite activity to be transplanted.
Yeah, no, it's not.
They're not like a tomato that you can bounce them up in the air and all that kind of stuff.
Really like
and so they're really finicky that way. And so if you can plant them by seeds, you'll read a lot of ways to plant melons and cantaloupes itself. It's make you a little mound or something and plant 4 or 5 seeds in a circle, and then once they come up, you take
the end up, or
but not really. I mean, but once they germinate and come up, you pick out your 3 vines, pull the other 2 so they're not overcrowded, and then just let them rip from there. They're pretty simple, but you got to know that a lot of times you'll see the space is going to be 3 feet between each mound, or 6 feet. I think it's 6 feet for melons. You plant like 5 seeds here, and then 6 feet over, you can plant 5 seeds.
Yeah,
you can encroach
because they'll just be crawling all over.
Yeah, you can shorten it up a little bit, and but you're gonna have all those seeds are gonna germinate generally.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to pull a couple of the weakest 2 vines, keep your best 3 or something.
Yeah,
and then let them rip after that.
And they're an easy to germinate seed, and all you have to see to know that is just throw a pumpkin out.
Oh yeah,
throw a pumpkin out in your yard. Just do it. You'll see. Throw a pumpkin that's halfway rotted. Throw it out in the backyard to see what happens next year.
Squash plant is the number one thing that people say pops up in a compost pile. Squash, cucumber, melon of any sort. They're like, I threw this out over here. And
You just throw it out, you'll get all the volunteers in the entire world, you know?
Now, the watermelon seeds don't like it cool. They don't like cool dirt. They'll sit there. That is not going to do anything.
Hey, if they can't plant melons and squash at the same time, I think they're. Yeah, I mean, you can't. You can plant squash.
They plant plugs of watermelons, and they plant them right now. They plant them now, but they're planting plugs because it's hard to get those seeds to germinate when that soil temperature is kind of cool.
Right.
We had nice warm soil. You could have got them going then, and then it cooled off for a couple of days, and so that's dropped the soil temperature down enough that maybe they might not germinate in
Makes sense.
4 or 5 days. Usually about all it takes for watermelon.
Yeah.
It's nice and hot. You keep them moist, they pop up quick.
Yeah, and it's such a nice plant to grow, and there's all kinds of different value to it. You have culinary value with so many different squashes. We also have utility value. You have loofah gourd.
Yeah.
Right. There's so much value in that. Pumpkins we can eat. We can decorate with them.
Yep.
It's just it's a high value sort of a family of plants. Pickles all day longs with cucumbers. It's one of my favorite things to plant every year. Is I make sure that I get my cucumbers in. So, yeah.
And all the melons, just like in there, because we're thinking about our own garden. There's a lot of people that are have confined areas, don't just have raised beds, and you can still grow those. You just have to pick a variety. This made for that. Some of your smaller varieties,
Some more compact. Yeah.
They have like some dwarfs.
I always tell that to people. When they're thinking about growing melons, like, when you buy a watermelon, do you finish it or not?
Exactly.
Or is it do you finish it while it still tastes awesome?
Right.
And when they tell me no, it's like, then you want to grow like the smaller melons that you can eat and like a small, like what city?
Like a little sugar.
Yeah, sugar baby.
Sugar baby.
It's perfect size for
all size.
Yeah.
Perfect.
The taste is always good. It's done and gone, and then when the time comes, you get another one.
Yeah. Called an icebox melon.
Yep.
So you get the whole thing, you roll it in your icebox.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite cultivars of all these different plants we're talking about that do well here?
I think like on the melons, I don't know why I gravitated to the Charleston gray melons, which is kind of a light green with some small dark green squiggly lines. It's I guess because it's an heirloom, it's got a different flavor to it.
Yeah.
I say different, not like completely different, but there's something about the flavor profile that just strikes me that I always liked that watermelon. So I grew those, and like you'll see Jubilees and Black Diamonds and all that out there that they have their own flavor profile. Something about the Charleston gray, the heirloom, that I just like, and it's kind of not overly large, but it's not small. It's a medium range. Yeah.
Yep.
And so where you and your wife and a couple kids, you're eating a whole melon, you don't have to scoop it out and save it and all that kind of stuff. So, for that, and then, on, cantaloupe, the Hell's Best is by far.
It's pretty much the kind of the staple.
Grow. It's got its own unique flavor to it.
Yeah.
And you can tell when it's ripe. You can go downwind about 100 yards, and when you can smell it, go pick them.
Oh, that's strong. Oh, it's fragrant. Okay.
Yeah, always are. It was right.
Yeah.
And you go out there, you just grab it, you lift up, and then the vine will fall off.
Oh, then yeah.
If the vine don't fall off, it's not ready, And quick side note on that, I was out picking those cantaloupe, and I would wait, and so I'm having to walk into the vines and stuff, 'cause I just had them out in a whole area. And I had one under each arm. And I moved it over. I was going to reach down there. I seen another one, and I had a snake come in between my legs. And it was one of those, is a striped, it's a ribbon snake.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They hang out in my garden.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there looking the whole time. It was just like minding its own business.
That's cool.
But I was barefooted.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Kind of stuff. If it was a bass snake, there's nothing I can do about it.
Nope.
It's just it's hanging out. It's like, hey, man, I'm just
it's kind of cool.
take care of some pests for you.
And, but so yeah, the Hell's Best on that, on squash and zucchini. I'm kind of partial straight neck too, because they're easier to slice. Because we put up a lot. We vacuum pack, slice them up, vacuum pack, and I'll mix a squash and a zucchini. So I'll have half squash, half zucchini in a package, and then I'll do all squash, and then I'll do all zucchini. If I let some get too big, which is another one that's easy to let happen.
It is, yeah.
My wife slices them up. She stores them, and then she makes like the zucchini bread and stuff out of them. I like grilling them. The squash and zucchini mix all summer long for different meals and
Yeah.
everything. So, but yeah, the straight neck's probably my favorite. It's not as bumpy.
Yeah.
Taste wise, I can't tell the difference between the two. And then we do smothered squash. You would eat smothered squash.
I'm sure that I would eat it, but the thing is like I'm not the best cook.
Oh,
So like, I'm not terrible, but
yeah,
I gotta have it like made the right way,
yeah.
and then like I'll just know what I need to do.
You would eat the smothered, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's good. Of course, a lot of people like to fry it.
Yeah,
I like to bread it, fry it, but we like to eat it grilled and that's smothered either way. So zucchini, I don't remember the variety that I plant, and I typically change every year. Not change. I typically add a different variety each year 'cause I like to try different ones.
Mm-hmm.
If there's an heirloom out there, I'll try them. I like dabbling with all kind of heirloom varieties, just like in my tomatoes.
Yeah.
Like throw heirlooms in there and check them out. There's always got a different flavor. They're heirlooms for a reason,
Test of time.
yeah, very true.
So
Cool. I think we kind of ran the gambit on.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
also, yeah, I kind of rambled on it, but I've grown all this stuff.
Hey, that's what people listen for. That's what they love to hear.
It's Southeast Texas, born ages, in there. I've grown all that stuff. So
Yeah. Well, we kind of went over some of the reasons why to get into it. It's an easier plant to start with. We've talked about some of the pitfalls and all the different varieties of plants that kind of are in this family and how they grow. So it's great, But we hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you back here on the next one.